You called down the thunder, well now you got it. So run, you cur. Run! Tell all the other curs the law's coming! You tell them I'm coming! And hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Welcome to the Dynasty Defined podcast, a show discussing the most decorated program in the history of sport, the Oklahoma State Cowboys wrestling program. I'm your host, Lee Cothran, joined as always by our co-host, Dayton Fix. And today we have now a senior member of the Cowboy wrestling team, somebody who's going to cement his legacy as one of the better team wrestlers in program history here coming forward. Teague Travis joining us. So Teague, thanks for hopping on. Really glad to have you on board and excited for your senior season.
No problem.
So before we get into Teague's come up and what motivates him and all that fun stuff, we do need to talk about a couple of things that have actually happened here over the past week, a couple of weeks with Oklahoma State wrestling and the Cowboy RTC. So we have RBY, as we discussed last time, went out to Mongolia and wrestled in a ranking series tournament representing Mexico. Took along Troy Spratley and Jimmy Kennedy with him to be a part of that trip. And he comes home with a silver medal from that tournament and puts himself in a pretty good place to receive a good seed come World Championships. I think there's one more ranking tournament, right?
Yep. Yeah, he had a really good win over the Olympic bronze medalist from this past Olympics. It was a high-scoring match, and I think he got 2 4-point moves, which kind of put him over the top towards the end of the match. And then in the finals, he was in great position to win, got a takedown with like less than 20 seconds left, and was just kind of trying to go for a gut wrench and just got stepped over with short time left. He really probably should have won the tournament, but it's better that happened now than at the World Championship. So just learn from that, and it was good that he got some experience, get some of those better guys, and he'll have another opportunity to go to the ranking series tournament and get some more points there.
For sure. Well, that's really good to hear from him. 57 kilos is a tough weight, as you know, Dayton, and then there's a lot of really competitive guys there from across the world. It's typically you're going to be dealing with a really tough Japanese guy, tough Indian guy who RBY beat, and then whoever Russia throws out there, and a few of these other countries, and then of course you got Spencer Lee as probably he's the returning Olympic silver medalist. So it's going to be a really interesting tournament here for RBY, assuming some of these guys even make the team. But it's exciting for him representing Mexico, and exciting for them to have a guy contending. That's good news for the sport of wrestling for sure, because you've got whatever. I mean, a couple 100 million people down there that they're going to be inspired by it. When people win in Mexico, they become massive fans. I think there's a long history of boxing greats from Mexico that have made that sport really popular down there. And then you look at Formula One, and Checo is a guy that they idolize. And so if you win medals in Mexico, you become a legend pretty quick, and that inspires more people to participate in the sport. And then that can only mean good things for wrestling if you have a country like Mexico getting that rise in participation, and then you start to bleed over with guys coming up here and competing in college and all that stuff. So I think it's great news for sure. And then this coming weekend on Saturday, we have Final X. And the Cowboys have 3 guys participating this Saturday in Final X, with the news that Vito Arujau was able to get a delay in the Final X match with Jax Forrest. So that's going to be taking place at Fargo during that tournament at a later date. So I think that with the 3 guys competing for the Cowboy RTC, we've got, of course, Joey McKenna at 65 kilos. We've got Zahid Valencia up at 86 kilos, right? And then we've got Wyatt Hendrickson at heavyweight. So a lot of really great matches here to talk through, and want to make sure we get some previews. The highlight match is Zahid Valencia and Kyle Dake of the whole event, really.
Yeah, Zahid, wrestled a really good match at the Open and got that win over Dake there. So he gets to sit in the finals, and Zahid's been in two final X's before, once against Kyle Dake, once against David Taylor, and those didn't go his way. But he's been in that environment before, so he just needs to use that past experience. He's been there, hasn't got the job done yet, but he knows that he can beat Kyle Dake. He just did it, so I think it's important that he kind of uses the same strategy that he always has. He goes out early in these matches and he racks up a bunch of points, and he just got to continue to build on his lead. We saw at the match at the Open, he kind of stopped scoring and was just kind of absorbing a lot of what Dake was throwing at him, and that's going to be hard to withstand in a best of 3 series. He's going to really have to stay on his offense and just keep scoring. I think that Zahid's the best 86 kilogram guy in the world. So he's probably gonna have to beat the second best 86 kilogram guy in the world to make the team. So it's gonna be a tough series, but I think Zahid has all the tools to get the job done.
Definitely. It's get past Kyle Dake, and then we'll talk about his competition in the rest of the world. But I think you're right. I think that his journey he's been on for the past year has really kind of cemented him as somebody that is going to be a mainstay at that weight through LA, which will be, and I think it's just his vision and the journey he's on, right? He really wants to represent his country and his hometown at the Olympics. That's a really awesome, rare opportunity for anybody. So pretty exciting stuff with what he's working towards. Joey McKenna and Real Woods is an interesting matchup. Joey, of course, has been a guy who's just been on the cusp of making the team at this weight class, and won the U.S. Open, had a really good showing. Real Woods, of course, a 3-time All-American at Stanford and Iowa. He is now at Michigan, training there at Cliff Keen, and has put together a really good challenge tournament performance there to punch his ticket to Final X. And I think that this presents a really intriguing matchup because of their stylistic similarities. Ultimately, I think both guys are pretty defensive, and both guys are highly intelligent, like cerebral wrestlers. They plan really well, and they pick their moves really well.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity for Joey. He's the guy that's kind of been right there his whole career. Hasn't made a world team yet, but he's always been right there in the conversation. But now he has the best opportunity of his career to finally make that team. Going up against Real Woods, I think it's a funny story. I think that Joey McKenna was actually at Stanford whenever Real Woods was getting recruited there. So I think that he kind of helped get Real Woods to go to Stanford. So they know each other, pretty well. And they do wrestle a little bit similar. Real Woods has a really good front head pinch. So that's something that Joey's going to have to be aware of. That it was a position that actually lost him a match at the Pan Ams a couple weeks ago. Got front head pinched during that match. So that's just a position that he's going to have to wrestle through. I think that if Joey just wrestle his match, he's going to be fine. He's experienced, wrestled a lot of freestyle, and just got to go out there and let his training do the work, or show how hard he's been working in the room.
Definitely, really excited to, like I said, see that matchup. I think it's an intriguing one. And then when you've got Wyatt Hendrickson taking on Trent Hilger, Trent has been on a team before. He's been the guy. He's just quietly been putting in work in his career up there, it seems. And Wyatt, of course, has burst onto the scene with his performances over the last few months. And of course, we know as Big 12 fans his performance over the last several years, U23 World Champ, all that stuff. But for the broader wrestling fan, his performance over the last few months has made him a superstar. And I think that's, as Zoe said, he's walking on water right now. So, but Hilger is definitely going to put a challenge to him. I think that same thing, Hilger's going to be able to slow down the match. He's been in this position before, and he brings that experience to it. And Wyatt's going to have to wrestle smart and at the same time wrestle the way that he wrestles and go score a bunch of points and do the things that we have loved watching about him for this season, or this past season especially.
Yeah, I think that, if Wyatt just keeps wrestling how he's been wrestling, he's not going to have too much of a problem. He's been wrestling great over the past 6 months, and, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. I know that he's excited to compete again, and he's going to be fun to watch. There's not much to say about Wyatt. He's so fun to watch, and he just puts a lot of points on the board. And I think that he's going to be able to do the same thing this weekend.
It could very easily turn into he wrestles for a minute total, but that wouldn't surprise me, or I don't think it would surprise anybody. I think Hilger though is a really tough out. So don't let it surprise you if it goes to 2 periods and 2 matches, or even if it goes 3 matches, it wouldn't be a massive shock. So remember that these are best 2 of 3 matches to make the world team, and the winner will go wrestle in Serbia at the World Championships. So going to be very interesting to keep an eye on, and great matchups. I mean, the whole event is always amazing. So it's nice that they've got it distilled down to one event in New Jersey. It's a big deal, right? So I think that makes it a lot of fun. As much as we like it being in Fort Worth or somewhere closer, right? It's still good for the sport that they've made it a big event. So, well, cool. Well, with that, Teague, how has your summer been so far? Coming in off of your round of 16 performance at the national tournament, 4th place finish at Big 12s, right? You're going to ride that momentum in, and you've been recovering from this out of things, and now you're going into your senior season looking to put a nice cap on this career of yours.
It's been going good. I got cleared about 4 weeks ago, so I'm starting to get back on the mat and get my shape back.
Wonderful. Well, talk to us about your come up in wrestling, Teague. I know your dad wrestled at Missouri. There was a lot of relationship there, right? He was the team chiropractor while you were growing up. You grew up in that program. So talk to us about growing up there and being ingrained in that room, and what really got you into the sport. What helped you fall in love with it?
Yeah, so my dad, he went there, and my uncle actually went there too. And just growing up, they've both been really involved in it. So, I mean, I've been going up there, and they had like the Columbia Wrestling Club or whatever. So I've been going up. That's actually where I first started. Like my first wrestling practice for the first couple of years was actually up in the Mizzou room. So I've been around it basically my whole life. And then when Sammy Hinson got the job at Missouri for the assistant head coach, that's when I really started going up there, and I was kind of trained with him all the time, and then all through the summers, pretty much since I graduated high school, I've been training with him, just growing up, and that's where I kind of, my style and just toughness kind of came from wrestling with him every day. And then I went to high school in Columbia. I went to a little small private school there. I was actually teammates with like Jarrett Jake Hughes and Brock Muller for a year. And then I commit to Oklahoma State. I just kind of felt like A lot of kids from Missouri, like they commit to Mizzou, and I think I just wanted to do something different and kind of get out of town and go start new somewhere else and build kind of my own legacy. And so then I moved to Stillwater early for my senior year. I just thought it was a better opportunity, training partners and coaches to kind of move down there and get settled in first.
Well, you helped Stillwater get that first dual state championship for the first time in, I think it was like 16 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That you you helped kind of complete the
Mm-hmm.
team for Coach Kyle in Stillwater, and really helped put them on this trajectory where now they're pumping out a lot of state championships.
Yeah.
It's been really good legacy that you kind of helped start.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. And like Coach Kyle and his family, my family kind of go way back with my grandpa. His family and mine, they both coached at Francis Howell in St. Louis. And so we've been kind of family friends for a long time. And I was actually going there before I even knew he was getting the job there. So when he was getting the job, it kind of just was working out perfect.
Yeah, well, and so that's another thing. I mean, Missouri, you went out in your sophomore and junior years of high school and won um, at a really high level. You were
Mhm.
a UWW and Fargo All American. You got into the big board rankings on Flow, and you got to this place where you're probably getting a lot of attention from
Mhm.
around the country. But Missouri has done, to your point, has done a great job of really drawing a fence around that state. And aside from a couple of guys here and there,
Mhm.
they go to Mizzou. Um,
Mhm.
there are some exceptions. OSU's had some guys from the Kansas City area that have been standouts. I think Coach Kyle is one of those. Illinois might get a kid from St. Louis every now and then, or Iowa, of course, they'll come in and draw. But you picked Oklahoma State. What was that recruitment like, and what led you to choose the Pokes?
The crewman, I was really going on those camps with Sammy Henson during the summers. Tyler Caldwell was actually one of the camp counselors. So I've known TC for a long time, since I was probably about 10 years old. So kind of already had that connection there. And he was like kind of helped me through the recruiting process. And when I came down here on my visit, I kind of just knew that I wanted to go here and kind of fell in love with Stillwater and the town. And I feel like it kind of fit more of my style, more like offense and low level attacks.
Dayton, you were an underclassman when Teague was being recruited. What was um, did you have much involvement in that? Did you help host or anything like that? I mean, could you talk to us about because he was around the same size as you around that time, right?
Yeah, I didn't host Teague. I think that I remember going to a football game, and I think I was at the football game with, and he was there. Um, but I just remember him. He was there with his family, I think. And I know that we were all really excited. We heard that he was coming to Stillwater High School, so that he was going to be in town early. And that's always a good move for guys. It's just a great opportunity. Whenever you actually live in Stillwater and you can wrestle with the guys on the RTC, you just get so much more experience, and you get the help with all the coaches and stuff. So it was, I think it was a great move for Teague. It ended up, helping. He was on a good team, won a state title as a team and as an individual. So, I think that it worked out pretty well for Teague.
I'd say so. Yeah, getting an individual and team title, that's definitely a fun uh, senior year.
Hmm.
So I guess also we've heard a lot from a lot of guys that come in for their freshman year. They were the big they were the big dog in their state or in their high school or wherever, in their room. They were the best guy, and they were out seeking other guys to wrestle with or whatever. And they walk into the Oklahoma State room, first day of practice, they get punched in the mouth pretty hard and learn, like, oh my goodness, I'm in a different environment now. I am not the best here. How much impacted getting that early help you adjust to Stillwater and college life and kind of being in that position before your eligibility clock started, just acclimating?
I think, like I wasn't the biggest recruit in my class, so coming in, I knew I was gonna have to kind of put my head down and work. And like I've been around like my high school and like my dad and people. They're like, yeah, you're gonna come in there. You're not gonna have a very good time the first couple of weeks there in practice. So I was just kind of ready for it, ready to just kind of put my head down and go to work and figure it out, and knew that my time will eventually come if I just keep working.
Well, and I think at that time too, you redshirted as a freshman, and your high school
hmm
teammate there, Carter Young, got that 141-pound spot
hmm
after switching his commitment or kind of doing a half. I don't. It was kind of a weird situation with him moving from
hmm
Northwestern to Oklahoma State. Um, what was what was that situation? You'd been competitive with them, you'd
hmm
been teammates, and then you're now competing for a spot. What was that like?
Um, so like that freshman year, I kind of knew I was redshirting, and I was just kind of starting to get into that college life, and kind of 41 was kind of a pretty tough weight for me to make a lot, and I didn't really know how to cut weight that well that first year, so that definitely kind of hurt me a lot. And then I just don't think that first year I was really ready to go compete yet.
Gotcha. So then, coming into your sophomore year, it's kind of the same thing. You're flipping between 141, 149 pounds.
hmm
And there's just the lineups kind of crowded around that
hmm
spot. You were competitive for a spot. You were trying to push through. And
hmm
in the tournaments, I mean, you went out and wrestled a ton as a
Yeah, I
sophomore,
did.
I guess a redshirt freshman.
hmm
Um, 23 matches in the
Yeah.
first semester, uh, a nearly 80% bonus rate. So you're putting up points. You were for those of us who follow closely, sickos like me that watch closely. You were exciting prospect.
hmm
What helped you keep the path there of like, well, look, there's Caden Gefeller, there's Wyatt Sheets, there's these other guys that are in front of me. Um, uh, I'm gonna try to take their spot, of course, but
hmm
it's okay. I don't need to transfer. I don't need to, make a big stink out of this. I'm just going to keep working. What put you in that mindset?
Just kind of, I just knew that one day I'll get it if I keep working and just kind of staying on the path and trusting like the process and just focusing on kind of one day at a time and just getting better in the moment. And then if I'm not on the team or if I'm not starting, like what can I do to help these guys so they can go out there and do their best, and kind of know your role and know that it's going to eventually be reversed one day, and you hope that someone else can help you out like I was.
Yeah. I mean, it's a heck of a good way to look at it, right? I mean, it's um, a, a position where and again, in this time of being able to transfer without penalty or, which is a good thing. I'm not
Mhm.
knocking that, or the guys that do it, right? But I'm sure you had other opportunities, right? I'm sure Missouri would have
Mhm.
loved to have you. I'm
Mhm.
sure that heck, most most other teams in the country would love to have most of the Oklahoma
Mhm.
State backups. Um, what was it? I guess was it just the way you were brought up, or the way that you just think
Mhm.
about it that you're just,
Yeah,
man, I'm just going to stick around here?
I'm just gonna stick around. And I knew just like, you go to like the duels here in Stillwater, and there's just like nothing really like it. And you want to go out there and wrestle in Gallagher. And there's not a lot of other places that have that or get like the media and all the attention that Oklahoma State does.
So you're coming into your sophomore season,
hmm
and there's a horse race here for the 149-pound spot between you, Jordan Williams, and Carter Young, I believe.
hmm
Obviously, you've been competing with Carter Young for a spot. Victor Voinovich had cleared out. Jordan Williams is coming off of red shirt. And there was some back and forth with you three in duels early in the season. And then you go to the Lindenwood Open and you lose to Jordan Williams in the finals 7-6. And then immediately bump up to 157 pounds. When did that opportunity present itself for you to go up to 157?
Kind of was probably after that Cliff Keen tournament, I'd say. And I was kind of really struggling to make 49. And I was just kind of like, man, like, why do I keep kind of killing myself to make this weight when I could go up and be the guy? And they're like, all right. They threw me in the first duel, and then just mine from then on.
And that was a kind of an interest. I mean, as much as you kind of wanted to see a guy like Dan Manabog punch through because of the same thing. He had just been there, put in the work, to just been waiting for his turn, right? But performance wasn't quite there, so they put you in that spot, and you took full advantage of it. I mean, you didn't have an easy run there. There's Lehigh, where you pretty well dominate Max Brignola, who is was a high level recruit, a guy that was definitely on the scene, and people knew he was going to make some noise. I think he had a really good tournament this past year. But then you also, you come into Bedlam, you Major John Wiley, you beat Sloan Swan, and then you put a cap on it there at the beginning of January, and you beat Ed Scott to just say, okay, well, this guy's legit really, really good at 157 pounds. How did that feel when you were able to just go up to that weight and prove yourself that quickly?
It felt good. It kind of let me know where I was at, because the whole year before, I wasn't starting, and then just making weight and kind of just working and being like, man, I don't know what to do. I just stuck with it and kept putting my head down and working, and then that just kind of cemented, like, man, maybe that made me a lot tougher the year before, not being able to wrestle. And then I was like, if I ever get the opportunity to go out there, I'm gonna make it worth it and go out there and rip some guy's head off.
Well, I mean, that's going to be popular. I think we'll make sure to clip that one in. What are we about 29 minutes into recording? So I think that that's what has endeared you so much to fan in that season, especially because you did have some question marks around the lineup. But it was building, right? Like you could feel that the team was getting a lot better. And Dayton being in the position you were in that year as the senior leader on the team, somebody who was a big part of that build. What was it like to get Teague implanted into that position where there was kind of a gap at 157 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was really good to just see Teague in the lineup, especially the year before. He spent the whole year basically down to 141. He made weight. I mean, you guys don't see it, but he made weight pretty much every duel. Me and Teague spent a lot of time together cutting weight at night and stuff like that. So we were up there pretty much every night of the week, cutting weight together. And he's doing it, and he's not even getting the, opportunity to wrestle. He's just making weight just in case something happens and he has to wrestle. So, you get a guy like that who makes it every time and doesn't complain, even though he's not getting the opportunity to wrestle. And he's just there to, help everybody get better. Like he said, to see somebody like that finally get their chance and really take full advantage of it and have a really good year. It was, just awesome to see, and you want to go to battle for someone like Teague, someone that is going to go out there and put it on the line and fight for the full 7 minutes. Those are the type of guys that you want on your team and you want, standing beside you.
That's awesome. So moving through that season, I mean, again, you had a great season, just working through, you dropped a couple of matches to guys like Ryder Downey, Ja'Cory Teamer, right? But you won a bunch of really big matches too, as mentioned, Ed Scott. I want to talk about though. You did get matched up twice, once in a duel, and then once again at NCAA's with a former teammate here, Brock Mahler. You were on a high school team with my. He's a couple of years older than you.
Yeah, with all the COVID years, I never think I'd actually be wrestling him.
Well, he was in the Dayton situation, right? I think he had a red shirt in there too. Had an injury and went up to 157 pounds in the same way, which I think was kind of a questionable thing for Missouri because you had Cam Steed sitting there trying to squeeze into the lineup. But you've got this opportunity to wrestle this guy, and you beat him twice. You beat him at NCAA's in his last NCAA tournament. You beat him in the duel, which was an exciting duel there in 2024 against Missouri. But what was that like wrestling him? Because I'm sure y'all are, probably kept in touch.
Yeah, pretty close.
Buddies.
I knew kind of going in there back home to the Hearn Center, I knew it was like he had all the pressure more than I did really, because I was coming there kind of like the little brother. But I knew that I could go in there and beat him, and I was pretty excited to go out there and wrestle. Remember, we were back that year. Me and Dayton used to hand fight before every match for like 2 minutes, like just straight, almost like a fist fight. And we had to do it on this little like piece of mat that they had in the bag, and all the guys had to like circle around and make a circle so we wouldn't go off the mat. And I was just like, I'm ready to go out there right now.
I'm noticing a theme here with you on the way you approach your matches, the way you approach your mindset is really just like you're going into a fist fight, and or maybe even worse, like you're going into a war, and who's going to come out alive, right? Who taught you that? I mean, I toughness and going into those kind of battles is something that Missouri guys have always kind of really prided themselves on. Was that something that just was built in you? Sammy Henson was the same way. They called him the Bull, right? And that's just kind of the same thing there. Was that really just your upbringing in the sport?
Yeah, and just like knew that I trained pretty hard and my conditioning was really good. And if it came down to like who wants it more, I'm going to get it every time, and just kind of having a lot of grit and going out there, because I'm really not the most flashy guy, but I'm going to go to a 7-minute war and I'm going to win at the end.
I don't know. You've hit some throws in your career that definitely make us think you've got a little flash in there.
Yeah, so, a little bit.
With the this season, or this past season that came up, you got injured before Cliff Keen in one of the duels. You were on the road, right?
Oregon State, yeah.
Yeah. That was a tough matchup with that guy that you wrestled, who you actually, Styles, I thought you might have hit him at NCAA's if you had.
Yeah, if I would have won the next one.
Yes. So, and I liked that matchup with him because he didn't really do anything.
To get that one back.
But regardless, you thought you were going to be done for the year. We're out. What prompted the decision to cut down to 149? It happened a few weeks before Big 12s, right? So there was a conversation that was had, I'm sure, and then the decision was made to throw you into the lineup for the conference tournament, and kind of a rare, weird deal where you have this kind of situation. What was that conversation like, and when did y'all really decide, okay, yeah, I'm all in, whatever? Because I know Coach Taylor has said he left it up to you.
Well, so I think I got cleared, I want to say the West Virginia or Missouri duel. And then that's when I started wrestling again. But the whole time, I'd say like the whole month of January, I was with our strength coach, Nick Montoni. And it was just every day we were making up different kind of workouts, like with the bike and the Versa and med balls and just doing everything we could to and get back in shape. And I was in really good shape before I started wrestling again. And then it was just kind of getting my timing back and trusting in my knee and being able to wrestle. And then I never let my weight get up too bad because you just never know. I mean, this is my fourth year last year. I've seen a lot of crazy stuff happen. And it's like I've seen a lot of guys have their weight get blown up and then they miss an opportunity because they weren't ready to go or they weren't in shape. So I just started kind of getting in shape just in case, and then my weight's getting down and then kind of like I was like, you can, I'm like, I can make 49. And they're like, all right. And then came up with the plan. And then they asked me if I wanted to do it because it was a big risk, right? Because I think when I got entered and then the Arizona State guy dropped out and I was like, oh, there's only 4 allocations now. Like, there's really no time to mess around there. But I was like, I don't know, not a lot of few people had this opportunity to do something rare. And I was like, I mean, why not me? Why not go out there and do it? Wrestle just 2 tournaments of the year. So I was kind of excited for that opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and you proceeded to go take fourth place at the
Mm-hmm.
Big 12 tournament. You dropped a tough matchup there with Paniro Johnson. After beating Paul Kelly from Cal Bap, which is that kid's no slouch, right? So you knocked him off, and then you had to beat Willie McDougald and Avery Allen to get into that third place match, and you really left no doubt there. I mean, you pretty well handled Willie McDougald, and then same thing with Avery Allen, 3-0, right? So you got the job done and got to the big tournament, and then you of course you get thrown into that pigtail because
Yeah, I kind
you
of
have the
knew
matches,
because
right?
that's what me and Coach Taylor talked about. They're like, you're not going to have any RPI. You're not going to really get a seed or anything. Like, you're going to be a very low seed. And I was like, yeah, I know. And I was kind of joking. We got done with practice, and like the brackets were coming out the next day. I'm like, I want to be like the 33 seed. And
Mhm.
they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, I am. And then the next day it comes out, I'm 33 seed.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Bryant had texted me like he's going to be the 32 seed, like that, right? And I was like, yeah, probably. I mean, of course, right? Like
Yeah.
but it's um, it, that's just what you get, right?
All right.
And I think that it became like Caleb Henson um, is tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're coming down to 49. You can keep up with that strength. He doesn't really. I mean, he's a very good wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
um, but good opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You drop that match, which is understandable, and then on the backside, it seemed like you just all right. Well, I'm going. I'm whatever. I'm going to do whatever it takes, and you took a lot of lumps. And to
Mm-hmm.
talk us through that run and getting a chance at redemption there and having to come back all the way, from where you were. You had to wrestle an extra match, and
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about before the show. And as everybody kind of knows, your eye was swollen shut.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing you at the end of the tournament at when everybody gets together, it was just like, man, Teague, I bet he's ready to get home and get some
Yeah.
ice, and just start recovering, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but before that, talk through, going through all that stuff.
So the pigtail match, it wasn't even probably 15 seconds into the match. The dude shoots a blast double, and his forehead hits me right in the eye, and I could feel the goose egg come right away. And I was like, crap, like this is gonna be here. And then I get off that match, and then it's kind of swelling up a little more, and I'm like, well, shoot, like I got Caleb Henson next, like this eye is gonna bust, like it's gonna break for sure. And then it just got worse. And then we go back because there's a break. Then I wake up from my nap and I'm like, oh, I can't even open my eye. And then it starts turning black. And then it just kept kind of getting worse. And then I can remember in one of my matches, I couldn't see, but like his elbow hit it, and then like it pushed all the blood up here, and I could like open my eye, and I was like, "Holy crap, I can see again." And then like after the match, it went all right back down.
Well, I mean, hey, there you go. That was what you needed, somebody to just kind of punch you in the eye again to
Yeah.
get the blood reshifted. So, um, man, that's what. So does that kind of eliminate some of your tactics there, or not being able to see? How does that hurt your?
It definitely led to my tooth get knocked out too, because I couldn't see him. Like I had to like try to grab his fingers and stuff so I could see where his hand was because it was on my dominant eye. But like once like it was just when we were in space, I had a little trouble. But like once you tie up, it's like kind of just muscle memory. But yeah, in that Haynes match, I dislocated my knee in the end of the second, and then he goes neutral or whatever in the third, and he just starts faking go nuts, and then he shoots blasto when I block it with my face again, and I chip this tooth, and it like cuts my lip, and like my knee keeps going out, and my tooth's gone, and I can't see. I was like, man, this is miserable.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, of course it. It's you. So you had a eye swollen shut. You lost a tooth. You chipped a tooth, and you dislocated your knee.
hmm my good knee, my
Yeah, the one that you didn't hurt earlier in the
yeah.
season. So I mean, but you just kept going. You just kept
hmm
pushing, right? And we you could tell something was wrong. I think after that Hines match, the Dayton and I got together and we observed like that must have something bad must have happened.
hmm
Um, because I mean, and Hines must have felt it because the way
Yeah,
he,
because I just tied it up and he was starting to kind of gas out. And then I took that injury time out and he kind of got back to it and was like, oh, this dude's hurt.
well, the way he like ran away from you
hmm
was like he had heard or felt something
hmm
happen. So, but you just kept getting up and going.
hmm
What what drives that? Like seriously, what just I know like right now you're just saying, well, yeah, I mean, that's just how I am. That's who I am. That's what I'm going
hmm
to do. But really, like that's rare,
hmm
even in wrestling. Talk us through like what keeps you going.
It's kind of just like, like it's going to hurt, but, like if you lose, like you're done in the tournament and it's like, are you going to quit or like, how are you going to feel tomorrow? Sit on the couch? Are you going to be like, man, I should have kept going? Or, like, are you going to regret the decision you make? And I just kind of just keep going as hard until you really physically can't.
Yeah, love that mindset. So coming into your senior year, um, it again. It looks like you're going to be the guy at 57. I know there's a couple others that are probably
hmm
trying to jockey out because depth has built up.
hmm
But after the work you've put in and what you demonstrated this past year, it'd be kind of surprising if somebody took that from you. What has you most excited about next season?
Just kind of really going to focus on enjoying it and making the most kind of out of everything because, like each day that goes by, it's one day shorter of wrestling college. So just kind of making the most of it. And I'm really excited for, we're going to have that Nebraska duel. And then I'm pretty sure we're going to have all the three Iowas at home this year. So that should be pretty exciting. And then
Yeah,
the national duels, I forgot about that. That should be pretty fun.
yeah. I mean, might get two shots at Nebraska here.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I saw we scheduled them. I was like, oh, we're gonna wrestle them back-to-back weekends.
um, that would make sense for sure. I think that looking at the weight class, 157 is definitely one of the most open weight classes in the country,
hmm
right? Tyler Kasak, Meyer Shapiro are going to be players. Ty Waters is coming up in the conference. And OU went and got Peyton Keller, But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, like there's just not anybody that is just head and shoulders above, better than anybody else, right? I think, and even Tyler Kasak's the number one guy. He might get usurped by the freshman PJ Duke, right? So I think there's some really really great opportunities here for you to go place really high, or heck, win the thing, right? I know that's
Yeah.
always your mind. That's probably your mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. No, it's like it don't really matter how good a season you have. That first day at the NCAA tournament's kind of you never know what someone's could be going through. So it's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Well, heck, and then just again, what you've put on paper here over 2 years, you've lost very few times, really, in your entire wrestling career,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you lost what, 4 times in high school,
Mm-hmm.
in like actual like in high school wrestling, and then at Fargo and stuff. I'm sure there were a couple more,
Mm-hmm.
but even at Oklahoma State, it's just you're uh, what 42-17, right? So you just don't lose a lot, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of having that forward look really probably helps you just continue to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm. Just kind of find ways to win and be gritty.
That's love it. So being gritty and going to war
Mm-hmm.
is what we can know for certain. Teague Travis is going
Mm-hmm.
to do.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton, for Teague going into his senior year, and I know you guys are tight and all that stuff, but what's your what are you telling Teague as somebody who's not necessarily a coach, but in this position where you're close to him, you're working with him? What are you telling him day in day out, or as you go into these tournaments?
I mean, obviously you want to enjoy it. It's your last time going to your last year in college. You want to enjoy it. But also there's stuff that you've always wanted to accomplish that you haven't gotten to do yet. So you got to make sure you're doing the small things, just living the right kind of lifestyle, making sure you're eating the right things, and just it's the small stuff that is going to get you over the top. It's
Mm-hmm.
you're obviously one of the hardest workers out there. So keep doing that, but it's just going to be the small details that get you where you want to be.
That's amazing. Well, Teague, really appreciate you. Really excited to see you take the mat this fall. Back-to-back weekends and back-to-back
Mm-hmm.
shots at the reigning national champ, right? If he's going to stay
Yeah.
at 157, so
I'm
that's
excited for that.
that's got to be that's got to get you pumped up, and then
Mm-hmm.
beyond that, I mean, world's in front of you. So
Mm-hmm.
really excited to see you compete. I know you're absolutely a fan favorite and somebody that I've really enjoyed wrestling, or not wrestling, watching wrestle, and really excited to watch you finish this thing off and uh, give Gallagher
Mm-hmm.
a show.